Welcome back to Alien Wisconsin. I'm your host, Ian Stephen, and we're joined again by Stephanie.
Hello.
And we have some exciting news for our audience.
What?
Well, one of our episodes just won at the 9th annual Midwest WeirdFest Film Festival.
Yay!
Yay, it's very exciting. So we wanted to share the episode today and kind of talk about things in that area and just our memories of kind of like behind the scenes, like how that episode came together.
Yeah, we had so much fun that day.
Okay, well, let's watch it. I'm finally here after my 3-hour car ride, and just behind me is the cinema where they're going to screen an episode of Alien Wisconsin. So I'm pretty excited about this. This is my first time at a film event of any kind where I'm competing, and I'm really looking forward to it. So let's see. Maybe I hope they like it. I hope they don't boo. Welcome to Alien Wisconsin. I'm your host, Ian Stephen. Today, we take our show on the road with an exclusive interview of a woman who saw a UFO in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and she uses art to process her experience. Hit the like and subscribe button. It helps out a small channel like Alien Wisconsin.
My name's Audrey Langer. I'm an artist. I've been an artist since I was a little kid, and I could pick up crayons and color around the house and get in trouble. I grew up in Chippewa Falls in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, the Chippewa Valley. I have always been kind of a naturalist. A Girl Scout counselor, lived in the woods. There was a lot of outside time, playing in the woods, running barefoot, strawberries picking, getting pickers in your feet from the sandburst, stuff like that. It was the fall of 1979. It was in September. I remember there was leaves on the trees. It was crisp, but not like winter cold. I was a senior in high school, and I was as a very busy teenager with all school activities. And one of my friends had gotten his girlfriend pregnant, and I was hanging out with them. So that is where I was before this happened. I had walked over to my friend's house. I was walking home on Birch Street in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which you can tell that I'm a country girl because I thought Birch Street was really too busy to walk on. It was only a 2-lane road. So I went one street over to Omaha Street, which is by Dell's Pond in a cemetery, but I wasn't frightened because my girlfriend lived on that street. So just walking along, happy as can be, when all the dogs in the neighborhood started barking, and I'm like, what's going on? And I looked up and I went, oh no. And I saw this flying saucer with like lights going around it and a light, like a searchlight coming down. I heard it before I saw it, but it wasn't a loud sound. It was more like a That's what scared me. Remember that hum, and that it upset the neighbor dogs, and then when I saw it, it upset me. And all I could think of is if I run, they're going to get me. So I walked really, really fast. And I walked so fast that when I got in the door, I was like, my mom's like, were you doing drugs? Were you drinking? Because I'm a teenager and I'd been at my friend's house, and I'm like, no, I saw a UFO. And she's like, And then she turned on WEAU 13 and the news was on, and it said, over the Chippewa Valley tonight, there has been a flying saucer sighted. People reported seeing it from Eau Claire to Chippewa Falls. And then my mom's like, oh. She did change her mind. My mother had seen a UFO hovering over our house on Oakland Street in Eau Claire when I was younger. But I was a little kid, and I just kind of thought she was nuts. So the tendency to be skeptical is very strong. But then she was like, oh, well, I saw one too. And then retold me the story, because that must have happened when I was like 9 or 10 years old. And at this point I'm 17, and 17-year-olds don't pay that much attention to their mother's stories. Back then, you're crazy if you said you saw a UFO. No one would believe you. They would just think you're nuts or you're making up a story. I believe my mother and I saw approximately the same sort of UFO sighting. This image stayed in my collective unconsciousness, and about 20 years later, I still could see it like vivid, like it just happened, like a snapshot. And so I painted it. I drew this with charcoal on pastel paper with pastels, which is a chalky pigment. And I don't know, I thought that would convey the vibrancy of what I saw, because even though it was dark outside with the lights and the flying saucer and there was a red barn and there were little dogs barking, I still had all that vibrancy in my head. So the pastels were a good medium to portray that. I think from seeing the UFO, I realized that the world is way bigger than I could ever imagine, and there are things that I do not know the answer to. And so it opens me to all those possibilities. I think the climate on UFOs has changed considerably. I posted this UFO painting on Facebook this weekend to talk about this interview coming up, and my friends are so curious and so excited and so supportive. I don't think they would have been back in 1979. It's way opened up. I would tell a 17-year-old girl in 2024 who saw a UFO to take out your cell phone and take pictures, but walk really fast home.
Well, that's our show, with special thanks to my producer, Stephanie, and to Audrey for being so generous with your time. And thank you to our audience, whose bravery and curiosity helps us understand this phenomena.
I just love her story.
Yeah, I love Audrey as a person too.
Yeah.
She was exactly how you saw her on that film. Is like, she's really friendly, she's really outgoing, she's very creative, she's a wonderful artist.
And she remembers the incident like it was yesterday.
Yeah, and her painting is actually really unique too. You know, like it's the small details that made it really believable to me, like the dogs reacting.
Definitely. She also talks about like how she heard this hum, which is how a lot of people describe kind of what they experience when they see a UFO, that they hear like this strange hum noise.
Yeah, I thought that was also very eerie. I mean, imagine being a 16-year-old girl walking home at night.
I know. You just don't expect that that's going to happen on your walk home from a friend's house. Like, yeah, incredible.
I think what's crazy to me too is the part where she goes home, she tells her mom. Her mom doesn't initially believe her, but then is like, "Oh, wait, I saw a UFO too."
I know.
Like, that's not what mom normally says.
I know.
You know, I mean, I thought that part was great. And then she has this line where she says, you know, the tendency to be skeptical is really high.
Oh, especially at that time. Like, this was the late 70s. The UFO phenomena was something that only kind of existed in science fiction as far as most people were concerned.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And it's just kind of a strange thing, you know, to think about is it had been so shamed on people to even talk about it. And it was basically, you know, just Star Trek and Star Wars at that time.
Yeah. You know, about people being shamed, we had gone to the Elmwood UFO Days last summer and heard some of the very compelling stories from people who had experienced UFOs, some of them repeatedly. They ostracized them. That's the word.
That's the word, yeah, you got it. Well,
sorry.
No, it's fine. You know, the thing is, if you don't know, Elmwood is not very far from Eau Claire.
Exactly.
It's like 40 minutes.
Exactly. And for a UFO, like,
I mean,
that's like a split second.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. And honestly, it only takes 40 minutes because it's all back road. If it was highway, it would probably be like 20 minutes. You know, it's like, it's not very far. And that whole area in the, you know, basically late 60s into early 80s was kind of hotbed.
Yes, like it sounded like hundreds of people in that area had UFO encounters. some of them, again, multiple times. It was really incredible to listen to the people who live in that area talk about their experiences.
You know, when I debuted this film at the film festival, a woman came up to me and said, "Oh my God, that's right next to my house." And I was like, "Oh, well, I mean, it did happen in the 70s, so, you know, cross your fingers, you know." But I mean, it's just kind of a weird moment, you know, and so as far as I know, the sightings seemingly have fallen off in that area, to the best of my knowledge.
I wasn't under the impression from when we were up there last summer.
Oh, maybe they haven't.
I'm challenging you on that.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
I think
I might be wrong.
Right. I mean, we took the little. Okay, so one of the experiencers takes you on a yellow bus tour of where the major sightings were, and I'm under the impression that he's still experiencing things to this day. I'm heading back to the main event after just completing this really cool yellow bus tour of some of the places where people have seen UFOs in the Elmwood area. And what stood out to me as most amazing is that it hasn't just been a couple of sightings or a handful of sightings. There have literally been hundreds of UFO sightings in the Elmwood area, going back at least 52 years and even into the current times. The tour guide of the bus said he saw his first UFO back in the mid-1970s, and he saw one as recently as July 5th, 2024. How amazing is that?
I think you might be right. That guy seemed very
traumatized,
haunted. I was going to say the word haunted, but like stalked might be a word.
Yeah, absolutely. Like his whole family had this experience. They were visited by men in black, perhaps these were FBI agents, and his family went on Geraldo to talk about the experience, and of course they were ridiculed.
Yeah, they were pretty shamed about it. They were mocked openly. The audience laughed at them, and that evidently had quite a, you know, predictably chilling effect on people talking about UFOs for something like 20 years. Like nobody said boo about it. But you know, he still has, and I want to point this out. The bus tour that we went on, they didn't charge us for it. Like it's not like, and as far as I know, he's never like made he's Netflix. He's not on Netflix or anything.
Right.
He's never taken money, but he's never changed the story either. So like it's often really easy to be like, well, you know, they're making a fortune off this. They'll say whatever they want, but he's seemingly never made a penny.
No. No, it was just a stinking hot day, and we're on a yellow bus, and he was just taking tour after tour after tour to the major locations where he and many other people had UFO sightings.
Yeah, it was very strange. It all started, of course, with that sheriff in a quarry. And this is, so Stephanie and I travel a lot looking for UFO stories. And the one thing we've noticed is lots and lots of quarries.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. It's like we keep finding quarries and then a UFO.
I know. I have a theory that it's the quartz. It's the quartz that,
I mean,
as a power source or as a way to amplify energy. That's my theory.
My theory is that it is a seasoning for their food. No, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. Like, I think the quartz theory is as good as anything. I have no idea whatsoever. It could just be sheer coincidence, but we just keep, you know, we'll like look for a UFO story. We'll go to this small town and there's a damn quarry right there in the middle. And you're just like, of course there's a quarry. What else would there be?
And what was really cool about this story, which involved a sheriff, was that he had seen lights out there, went to investigate, saw a UFO, pulled a gun on it.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
And then got zapped. He got zapped. It zapped his car. It burned out his car.
Yep.
He ended up dying within a year.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's related. But again, government agents ended up coming to the town to try to seize the vehicle.
Yes, that was an interesting story too. The vehicle itself had been deemed unrepairable, and they were going to smash it into a cube, and I think they had. And then the auto mechanic said, yeah, it was unrepairable, so we smashed it into a cube. And then these government agents yelled at them for that.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if it didn't mean anything, if it was all nonsense, it was all made up, you wouldn't care. You wouldn't send anybody there. And interestingly, that's what convinced the auto mechanic that there was something to the story. Because he just thought it was nonsense. It's funny because, like, it's almost like when people try to debunk something, it almost proves it. You know, it's like the best thing they could have done is just shut their mouth. Nobody would have believed it. Funny how that works, huh?
Yes.
So I think we have got a lot of plans this year
I hope so.
to be traveling and producing more and even better content than we've done
Yes.
together.
I mean, Wisconsin is such a UFO hotspot. We have so many stories that we can tell, and we should.
Absolutely.
Because it's interesting and it was super fun. It's super fun to like research these things and talk to the people who've had these sightings and to go to the places.
And we love sharing these stories with our audience too. Even though everyone thinks of Wisconsin as the place of dairy and cheddar and the Green Bay Packers, there is also lots of other stories here. All right, well, thank you for coming to Alien Wisconsin, and look forward to putting out our next story.